The press launch of the M3 started off as just another normal working day in the life of the motoring scribes who have to endure this sort of pressure week after week throughout the year. Waking up in a first-class hotel, oysters and orange juice for breakfast, a technical briefing from the manufacturer's boffins, and then the prospect of spending the day behind the wheel of a supercar covering 600 kilometers of road through one of the most beautiful parts of South Africa. It can be a tough job, but as they say, someone has to do it. And do it we will, with all the will in the world, was the collective agreement of the motoring writers who were presented with the M3, one car to each writer, on the launch of the supercar at the beginning of October. Even Plettenberg Bay, which is used to seeing elegant cars cruising its streets, opened its eyes when 2.5 million rands worth of super saloons hit town. A super saloon with all the practicality of an everyday car is exactly what the M3 is. And its styling is a complete understatement of what lies beneath the bonnet. From a distance, you could be forgiven for identifying it as a 3 Series coupe. However, closer inspection produces a noticeable increase in the adrenaline level, while the mind conjures up pictures of British or German touring car racers in their multicolored chariots. Despite the fact that this is a high-performance car, it's immediately obvious that it's been designed with the executive and the family man in mind. And accommodation is generous, something not normally found in its peers. Its appearance is an understatement of what the car is. In fact, it's the sort of car that you'd feel at home with if you felt that a Ferrari 348 or a Porsche 911 were a bit ostentatious in these financially tight times. The M3 is not the sort of car which could raise the eyebrows of the receiver of revenue. The office end is ergonomically flawless, with every control in easy reach, and the instruments are all clearly visible through the steering wheel. Leather upholstery is available as an option, but the standard cloth cover seats look just as good, and they offer plenty of support all round. Safety is also something which has been well taken care of in the M3, with side impact bars in the doors and a driver's side airbag as standard. Also standard is anti-lock braking, and the suspension and rear axle design results in an overall ride which is comfortable while still producing the feeling of a sports car. Handling is quite exceptional, and you have to be a complete idiot to lose control. The wide rubber sticks to the road like glue. But it's under the bonnet that the real business begins. The straight-six double overhead cam 24-valve 3-litre engine produces 210 kilowatts at 7,000 RPM and a superb 320 newton-meters of torque at 3,600 RPM. The M3 also boasts the Vanus variable valve gear, which advances or retards inlet valve timing. And the M3 will hit 100 kilometers an hour from a standing start in 6.5 seconds, while its top speed of 250 kilometers an hour is electronically governed, and I might add, very easily reached. So on the open road, you have to keep an eye on the speedometer, or else you'll find the men in brown jumping out of the bushes. It's a car which has been bred from motorsport achievements, and in the hands of someone like Dion Jabeur on the Kyalami circuit, it's a joy to behold. The ABS will stop it from 80 kilometers an hour in 2 seconds, which is a comforting thought if you ever get the opportunity to wind it up. Its selling price of 209,000 odd is what some might call affordable when you consider that a Porsche 911 costs 3 times that amount. And for once, it's a car that left the motoring scribes speechless.
It's for me, it's basically a supercar at a tenth of the price. I think that's an easy way to sum it up.
Magnificent, really magnificent.
I think it's the most fantastic sporting saloon car that I've ever driven.
Well, it's a very sensational motor car. Probably the most exciting supercar or affordable supercar that has ever been available in South Africa.
It does everything so well, one feels almost invincible at some stages. And my overall impression is that this must be probably the ultimate understatement in motorsports cars.
Terrific. I'd buy one if I could afford it.
Well, I can sum that up for you in 2 words, one of which you probably couldn't actually repeat in polite company.
For the last hour out on the road with the M3, I've been delving into my vocabulary and trying to find a word which adequately describes the car. The only one I could come up with was sensational. And that, even in itself, is an understatement. The BMW is fast. That's also an understatement. It's indecently quick. It's very responsive. It's a very safe car and an absolute joy to drive. It actually puts the pleasure back in motoring. It's the sort of car that you'd almost sell your soul for.